Okay, let's start introducing the World Bank Development Indicators database, which you see here. And the World Bank Development Indicators database is a database of a selection of databases. So when you open the website, you can either Google for World Development Indicators or WDI, or you can see the link to the website here. And there are actually several databases. The first one which is checked is the World Development Indicators database, but sometimes you can go a little bit deeper and also find many other databases. So data is definitely not in short supply. So we go now with the World Development Indicators database, and the first thing we have to do is we have to select our countries. So if you click on the country icon or button, we see there are like a total of 266 observations, but those are not all countries. As you can see, there are like countries 217, and there are aggregates 49. The aggregates include things like Africa, Eastern and Southern, or Europe and Central Asia, fragile and conflict-affected situations. So that includes various World Bank classifications. So we want to limit our selection to all the countries, which are 217. So then we select all those 217, and then the 0 next to the selected icon will switch to 217, and then we can go next to series. Series are the variables that we are interested in, and we want to download 7, or we want to download actually 4: GDP per capita, total natural resource rents, school enrollment, and the poverty gap. So you can search for the series or the variable that you are interested in, and you see there are like a total of 1,443 at the moment in the database. So searching for keywords is definitely helpful. So first one I want to search for is GDP per capita. So I enter GDP, click on search, and then there is like an alphabetical menu. I suspect that my variable can be found under G, and then I look for GDP per capita in constant 2017 international dollars, which is here. So I click that, and now you see I have selected one. The next variable I'm interested in is natural resource rents, or total natural resource rents. So I just look for total natural, and so I suspect it under T. I click again on T. So now I can search for total natural resource rents, percent of GDP, which is here. Then the third variable we want from the WDI is school enrollment. So I look for school enrollment. And specifically I want school enrollment, secondary gross gender parity index. So again, I suspect it under C. And here we have primary gender parity index, when I want secondary, so we got to scroll a little bit. And here we have it, school enrollment, that's actually tertiary, school enrollment, secondary gross gender parity index. So this is the third. And the fourth that I want to use from the World Bank is the poverty gap. actually the poverty rate. So let's look for poverty rate. Oh, poverty should be enough. So now what do we have? So we have the proportion of the population pushed down. So let's go to poverty, then click on P. So there's a poverty gap, there's a poverty headcount ratio at $1.90 as a percent of the population, or the poverty headcount ratio at $3.20. So that's the one that I want. And so now you see that we have read 4 indicators that we can download. But before we go to download, I still want to quickly show you this little filter menu. So the WDI is actually nicely organized. So if you click on that little filter icon, you can limit your search to economic policy and debt indicators, or if you scroll down, education indicators, environment indicators, financial sector, gender, health, infrastructure, poverty, private sector and trade, public sector, social protection and labor. So there's definitely no shortage of indicators. And if you click, for example, on public sector and conflict and fragility, then we get all available 7 indicators that can be found in this particular category. But we'll just stay now with those 4 because that will be good enough. So let's just remove that filter again. We already chose our 217 countries. We have chosen 4 series or variables. And the last thing we have to do is we have to select our time frame. And you see the World Bank has data from 1960 to 2020. And I always would recommend that whenever you have data, you just download everything and then extract whatever you want or whatever you need. Sometimes this may change and you feel like I want to go back to the original data, so it's always good to have everything that you can get. So computers these days are can easily handle massive data sets, and so we just select all the series. Okay. So now we have selected all the years from 1960 to 2020. We have 4 selected variables, and we have chosen 217 countries. So next we click on Apply Changes. And now we can already see these are our variables here. And then we go to Download Options. And whenever you download something from the World Bank Development Indicators database, I recommend that you go to Advanced Options. And there you see, okay, I want it as an Excel format. But when it comes to data format, you should always try to get your data as a list. And here, whenever you see 2 dots, then after you download it, that means that you have a missing observation. And you can leave the other by default. You typically want the entire data set. You want both the codes and the names, but you don't need the metadata. And so that's it. So if you click here now on download, you will get the data set with 4 variables. In case you encounter a problem and you feel like no data is downloading, what often is the case is that you may have a ad blocker on your browser that may actually prevent from the browser to download a data set, or from opening a pop-up window like the one that you see. So anyhow, if you click on download, you should be able to get those 4 indicators as an Excel sheet. All right, so I hope that explains somewhat how the WDI works. Thanks a lot.